What's going on? It's the Rap Nerd, and I'm here to talk about / review Nas's latest album, King's Disease 3. Yet again, another fire album. I feel like each album just keeps getting better and better and better. He even references this on the first track, saying, KD3 go harder than all of them. Album's fire from start to finish. Hitboy again being the best backdrop that I've heard from Nas in modern day time. He's able to capture that 90s East Coast grimy bop with the soul samples and bring it into today's times. No knock on that, the older beats at all, because Illmatic is one of my favorite albums ever. Nas getting better with time. He's always been a wordsmith and great storyteller, but I feel like he's gotten even more clever, being able to throw in a lot more bars, a lot more metaphors, a lot more similes, as well as doing what he's known to do. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this album. I'm gonna go track by track, just kind of giving my thoughts on each record. There are a lot of lines on this album, so if I don't reference a line that you think is dope, I'm not taking away from it. Believe me, there's a lot to unpack in this album, and I hear all the slick lines, and if I were to break this thing down line for line, we'd probably be here for 6 hours or something. So just had to put that out there as a disclaimer. If you see me go over to this direction, I have the track list pulled up, and I'm going to be referencing some bars as I feel need. So like I just said, the record starts off with Ghetto Reporter. I love how it starts with an excerpt from Richard Pryor saying, niggas want justice, but if you go down there, you see just us. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was hilarious. And it just goes into his verse explaining the climate of what it's like to be not only an MC right now, but a black person right now, and how it's not that much different than how it used to be back then. But in true storytelling format, Nas is just relentless flow from the jump, you know what I mean? With the soulful backdrop, that's a nice opening to the album. It sets the tone. Everything is around this sound / feeling, and it just carries throughout the album. So I think it's a really great way to pop things off. One of my favorite bars, he says on here, the hate gon' rise quicker, so how could I manage this disadvantage? Niggas Planet Hollywood, I come from a different planet. Real slick bar. I really, that's the one that made me have the screwed up face, like, And I love how it ends too. It's a younger version of himself talking about what he wants for himself when he's 50. And I believe he turned 50 this year, or he's turning 50 next year. Either way, he's right there in that age of 50. And he's just saying, like, as a rapper, I can never stop. We want to get out, but we can't. We're trapped. When I'm 50, I want to have 16-year-old fans. I want to have 60-year-old fans. And here we are in 2022, Nas releasing another album. Everything that he's saying here came to fruition. So love that he ended it with that. Before I go further, I gotta say that this album came out last week, on the 11th to be specific. But I've just been riding around to it and really understanding the album and listening to it. But that's why I'm putting it out now, because I fully digested it. Literally, no plan. I've been listening to this album daily since it dropped. Some days I even listen to it twice. It's a massive piece of work, so I gotta say that too. Now the next record is legit, and this is when the album just on track 2 goes to space, and he even has a bar where he says that. I love how the sample comes in first, it's the singing, and then you actually get the beat with the vocals being held like, oh, and Nas starts rapping, and you think the whole beat is gonna sound like that, but there's like a piece when he stops, and then the sample comes right back in, and then it kicks back in, and the kick starts going, and that's when you just had that bop, like, it's just him going nuts. And one of my favorite bars from that song is when he says, something day may be, I'm at a space OD, I'm NASA, take off the last letter, go off on 3, like. And not to mention, I like the hook and what the song stands for. I think it's a testament of time to anybody that you need to go legit at some point, whether that be from the street side, like if you're a hustler, you need to take that money and make it legit, because there's only so far that this dirty money's gonna take you. And even more so with whatever business you can apply it to. Like, say you're a guy or a gal making a t-shirt company. You got a t-shirt company that you print shirts outside of your house or whatever. At some point, you have to make it legitimate to actually go to the next level. And I like that he says it on the hook. You're like, all the modes that I know flip, who to know I go legit. And he even switches it up a little bit just to drive that image home. So really dope record. Love this beat, so soulful, and it just has that certain knock to it and make you screw your face up. And one of the bars, like I just said, that really sums up the song before I move on to the next joint, when he goes, no, Nas still to remove the wall that you put your back against, legitimize all your hustles before the gavel hit. Like, literally, it's just what I said. Legitimize whatever you doing before that gavel hits, whether that means the police come, you end up somewhere you don't want to be at, or your business gets stolen from you. Like I've seen so many people do. They make these businesses and these things and don't trademark, and somebody comes through and scoops it up, and now you're out of a business. So I love the message for this one. Next record on this album is Thun. You know, my thuns that he grew up with. Like I love the idea of how he's flipping this song. Like the first verse is him speaking about how he grew up with, you know, with all the people he knew. Like he said, it ain't just music shit. These are people that I grew up with. And that's the first verse, just detailing his past and where he came from. And I like that the second verse, he started his bars off with the line that we all seen when he says, in the Range Rover, dissecting bars from Takeover. Sometimes I text Hove like, nigga, this ain't over, laughing. But before that, the line he says, brothers can do anything if we want to. And that's showing him coming into now and learning different ways to operate like he did back then, but like I said, in a different way. But you swing to the third verse, and that's when he goes to a place of telling us that even though he's grown to be a different person, when he gets put in front of the masses and these other popular people, sometimes that old Queens attitude and mind state comes back. Like he says, around all these popular people, I want to put a stocking back on my face, because you can never take where you come from out of you. And I just like the idea of him bridging all this together within these three verses. And then the beat, I thoroughly enjoy, because it has these violin samples that sound super mafioso. Like I could hear AZ just gliding over this beat too. Like how he ends the verse doing a flip on KRS-One's pretty much diss to all the other New Yorkers. How he says, Manhattan keeps on making it, Brooklyn keeps on taking it, Bronx keeps creating it, Queens keeps on caking it, instead of the reference of Queens keeps on faking it. You know, I don't know why they had so much disrespect for Queens, but he went in on them. And there's this one bar that I like when he says, ain't been on the train in decades, but he can still hear the wheels on the track. Like I love that. That just speaks to how New York of a guy is. Then the next record we get to is Michael and Quincy, and this is another beat that's just like has that certain bop to it that, you know, you just want to screw your face up to, because these kind of beats just pull so much out of an MC, because the pacing of it makes rappers have to pick up their own pace, and depending on the kind of MC you are, you can get a lot of intricacy out of it, whether it be the flow or the technical gymnastics that you do with your words. And Nas does both on here. And even the hook got bars in it. Eardrums de-virginized from these words of mine. That's a word of advice, you can't murder Nas. All my niggas certified, we got certain ties. Streets was our office, we didn't need a shirt and tie. Like, and that's the hook, and he rapping like that. So dope as fuck. One of my favorite bars from here is he says, go crazy, CeeLo Green, Gnarls Barkley, before I pull up to the spot, they try to park me. I'm used to dark scenes, that's why I spark green, where I pour the wine. They don't stock these, I gotta order mine. And then when he goes crazy, the second verse kicks in, and Hitboy adds this like nice 808 kick to the back of it that just kicks up the pace even more, and it just hits even harder. And that's when Nas just goes on this tirade of metaphors and similes that just reference Michael Jackson from the first bar to the last. I mean, the first line, I'm activated, my hair might spark flames, aviator frames, bandages, laminated stage, from a stretcher I wave. He didn't say my hair, he said my hammer might spark flames. But I'm reading the lyrics, I was looking at it. Somebody got this wrong. And he just, again, goes on this tirade of just all these metaphors, referencing, you know, Off the Wall and, you know, Thriller, big budgets, and all these other things in regards to Michael. And it's just hard hitting, man. Like this song was just made for Nas to just show off. And on the first verse, I like the line he was talking about, just Ray Liotta and James Conn died, iconic actors who were redemption for these mob guys. Love that he said that. And what Nas is saying right there is what he means, what I assume he means. You know, a lot of these mob movies and just the mafia culture, they don't fuck with black people. So it's just kind of, you know, crazy that we have adopted that culture as some cool shit when they don't even like us. I just like the reference to that bar right there. But fire track, I love how it bangs, and it's just ridiculous. Hitboy, when that beat switches, it's just a whole different level of screw face. And if you heard the song, you know exactly what I mean. And then we get to the next record, which is 30. Oh, this record sounds so triumphant. Like, this is champion music. I can see him literally opening a show with this, just like, oh, it reminds me of something Dipset would rap on. Like I could hear Santana chopping this up. I could hear J.R. Ryder just chopping it up, and it's so big. This is like stadium music. And then I love the hook, like, this is practice, instant classic. And then when that beat drops, it's just booming. Like that bass is just slapping, going on 30 summers, going on 30 summers. And it's a reference to King's Disease 2 when he has another record called 30 Summers. Or is it the first one of the two? But I like that it's a nice Easter egg and way to stretch out to the previous albums. And the song's not even that long. I think it's just, I don't even think it's a hook first. I think it's the sample, and then he jumps on it and just raps for like 24 bars, and then the hook comes in, and we're done. I like little short tracks like that. Everything doesn't need to be 2 or 3 verses, and this album has that in common. Not everything is 3 verses. Not everything is 2. Some are just long verses. Some are just 1/16, and that's it. Kind of like this one. So, like an epic song to me, man. Once we leave that record, we go to another one called Hood to Hood. And to me, this just feels like Miami with the top down, driving the magic hour, just speeding through traffic. That's literally what I think about when I hear this record. And I love it. And I enjoy the message of, we should unify hood to hood. Like, we need to stop all of this bickering and arguing. And I even like the line that he talks about, even the Latins in jail hold each other down, but brothers like to squabble over, the phone, shit like that. And it's kind of just another message to bridge the gap that we all one and the same. Through all the trauma, through all the street shit, it's all the same. It's just spoken differently. And we would do better coming together than being each other's ops, in lack of better terms. Then the next record we go to is Recession Proof, and I just love the groove on this track. It sounds like some blaxploitation, 70s funk. That bass line just ripping, that's hard. That is super duper hard. And he even references that, when he opens the track up. It's the 70s, of course, Donna Summer's voice, just him saying that, you already know, like, okay, this is the vibe we went with. We're trying to make some 70s blaxploitation, black music, period, with the instrumentation. I like this bar right here. From the Census Bureau, they put up a killer's mural. It's a different world with 30 shot clips that curl. The hook, ain't nobody recession proof. Invest in you, that's what it's best to do. 2 bars, such a message. Don't matter how rich you are not recession proof. And the only way to beat that, again, is if you invest in yourself to be able to create more, to make more, or you save more. That's what it's about. When you put that money into yourself that you can pass down and keep for yourself, that's the only way you'll be recession proof. And I like that he said that. Consuming poison, somebody bless the food you trying to impress, but what's the left to prove? Yo, can't be out here moving sloppy. Movie lobby, they shot him out of his 2 Hirachis. Bars aside, the instrumental is just a vibe on its own. Love this record, and it's this little thing that Hitboy does that, I think around the 8th bar is when it's like he start playing like, and then it changes again when the hook hits. It's just little things like that you keep the same loop, but just add something small, breaks the beat up to give you some type of change and something that you can remember. And Hitboy, yet again, delivering. Then the next song, Reminisce, of course, him talking about reminiscing. The first verse, it's funny because he's talking about himself reminiscing on the old things that he used to do and once had and all this other stuff. But then the hook hits and he says, and he's just talking about not reminiscing. Like, I don't like to reminisce because I live in the now. And the second verse continues that narrative about it's okay to reminisce, but some people get caught in that. And it's important not to be one of those people that your only worth is stuff that you did have. That's the message of that record to me. And that Mary sample in there is just so smooth and soulful. And I love at the very end of it, Hitboy flips the beat to kind of give it that New York drill sound. That's what I call it. Like the Pop Smoke, rest in peace, the Pop Smoke sounding records, to me, that's like the New York drill, in my opinion. If I'm wrong, my bad, but I like this switch up there. And then Nas comes back on there with a faster flow. I really, really enjoyed it. Like, I honestly wanted to hear him rap more over that beat more and continue the song. But nonetheless, like I said, it's one of those things that leaves you satisfied but like anxious, like, damn, that would have been dope too. Next record we have on here is Serious Interlude, like the song about pillow talk. Nas talking about this wife of a rich dude that he used to talk to, and things didn't exactly go right, and it kind of made for a bad situation where it could have been worse than what it was. But really dope beat. Not really into pillow talk records. I don't know. I don't really like hearing about guys' relationships and what they did. That's anybody. This ain't just Nas. This is period. I don't like hearing that kind of stuff. But it is a great sounding record. So I do listen to it, but it's kind of one that I kind of tune out a bit for the reasons I just did. But nonetheless, dope record. But then we get to this next record. I'm on Fire. This is another stadium record, dog. Like the horns blaring, that sample. Who is that singing? I don't even know who that is. Is that like an actual sample? I'm on fire. Don't be scared now. I can just see him on stage performing in one of them puff jackets, and the flames are just, bursting as he's on stage. He's just going through these bars. Like, still got the same flame behind me from the Hate Me Now video. It's continual. All I need is a beat, and I'm stitching you. Like stitching these words together. I'm still getting better. I'm finding more gold as I dig with this dirty shovel. I got the last laugh, don't get blown away by the backdraft, nigga. I'm on fire. Don't be scared now. Then he goes into the second verse. Like this song to me is just Nas just playing with the bars. Like, I'm gonna show y'all why I'm still on fire, which he does. Trying to walk on my soles like bare feet on hot coals. Soon as I start heating up, the whole block froze. I came in without an ordinary name. How many Nas's? How many top tier? How many not here? Woo. It's bound to explode. I make them stop, drop, and roll and move to the side with it. There's no stopping it. I'm rap's arsonist. I don't really need to say more about that track. You heard it like I did. Fire. Then we go to the next record, WTF SMH. At first, I wasn't feeling this record because the sample was a little bit like, It almost sounded like a Ye beat to me, but it just wasn't vibing. But the more I listened to it, the more I just liked it because Nas, again, he just glides over every damn thing possible. And I like the rhyme. He was like, WTF SMH OMG, how could you put these pussy ass rappers over me? Still talking his shit. I love it. When all they do is cap, all they do is LIE. I'm LMFAO, Esco heavy in these streets, like. But the kicker for this record is when the beat changes. Like, there's a lot of that. Like, it's just the way these beats change, and it just makes the album feel more dense than what it is. It's like two records in one. And I love how it changes, and it just gets more, it just turns super duper soulful. And one of my favorite bars from that second verse is he goes, I opened so many doors, my launch pad was the main source. You couldn't interpret this lesson, even though we took the same course. It's just another way of saying shit's different. But and that's pretty much what this record is about. It's just like, is it kind of gimmicky? Yes. But I feel like Nas isn't taking the abbreviation serious. Like, he's not trying to be cool. He's making fun of the niggas who talk about this and use this terminology, regardless if it's to him or whatever, or whoever it is, he's making fun of it. And this is what this song feels like to me. Then we go to the next record, Once a Man, Twice a Child. And this is, if you listen to the hook just by itself, it tells you what it's about. It's a coming of age record in another sense. When we hear the term coming of age, we think about younger growing into their more mature years. But I think this is a flip on that idea of, your more mature age of being 20 something, graduating to literally being Nas's age. He talking about his grandpa saying, you're not gonna be able to do the same things you did. And the first verse just talks about how different his life is. And then the second verse talks about other people in the sense of to the older cats and how they treat the youth or how they treat anybody else. It's this idea of, look, you don't want to be as the old head. You want to be welcoming to the younger crowd. You want to be welcoming because that same person you talking shit to later down the line, when you're old and you might be in a nursing home, this person is going to be your nurse, your doctor, the person in there changing your diapers, and people remember stuff. People remember who was gracious to them, and especially people remember who was shitty to them. So it's the changing of the guard. Like, you should just learn to continue to grow with age. And I just love the message of that song. And of course, Nas beautifully with his storytelling just makes it clean and concise. And if you don't grasp that message, you need to adhere to what's being said, because they're probably one of those people he's talking about. Then the next record, oh, I love this song, Get Light. I always talk about this. I sound like a broken record, but me and my wife used to live in North New Jersey for a year. It's something that I've always wanted to do, and that's why I always talk about it, because ever since a kid, I've always wanted to live in New York, living in that area. You know, we lived close, and being there, I experienced running around New York and how fun it was. And to me, this song reminds me of that time. Just, hopping off the Q train and going to Delancey Street, and this is Manhattan, and even running through, Long Island City and Queens, and it's just this just gives me summertime in New York vibes. I love the beat and how the hook has a DJ. All my ladies in a party, yeah. And I love that sample. I think Tyler the Creator, or who was it Tyler the Creator? Was it Jay Prince? Or no, they both are on their record, but it's Gold Lane. He has a record with them with the same sample, and I thought the sample was cool back then, but this one flips it even more and gives it a New York bop, which I just love. Like, the vibe is so good. I'm just literally just bringing me back to that year when we was living up there, hopping on and off the trains and just doing everything, partying and going to different restaurants in New York. Love this song, man. Then from there we go to First Time, and this is a dope record again. Nas with his storytelling, his first verse detailing his first time really getting the acclaim as being Nas, going through, telling a story about him being somewhere, and they played the first record that he was on, and him being nervous about it, and then he flips it into, so the first time you heard me, I was nervous as hell, but the first time you may have heard me may have been when you was, grinding yourself and doing whatever it is you were doing and hustling. And he made the music for the folks that's in that. So I love that he flips that idea. And then he goes on to the second verse where he's talking about the first time he heard stuff, and even going into the new era where things have changed, and him not getting that same feeling that he got growing up listening to new cats until he heard Kendrick, and he was like, oh shit, this is a whole different type of thing. Because we all know Nas is notorious for making that album Hiphop is Dead. He wasn't feeling the shit that was out at the time. It's just, like, it is what it is. Love him or hate him for it, that's how he felt. And he speaks on that time, talking about rap being, floating in the atmosphere until this kid Kendrick Lamar appeared. And that was dope. Little record of him talking about First Time on, him in the past, his listeners, and him currently, or, more in modern day times. Dope record to string all that stuff together. Then we get to this amazing record, Beef. This song reminded me of the first time I heard Rewind. If you don't know what that song is, it's off of God's Son, and God's Son is like really my for real introduction to Nas, because of course he came out with a bunch of other albums back then, but I was a kid. My dad used to play it, but I ain't really listened to it. The early 2000s is when I really grasped on the hip hop. So when God's Son dropped, that was when I was like, who the fuck is Nas? This dude is crazy. Because I believe it had Made You Look on it, and I was listening to the album, and Rewind came on, and I was just mind blown at how he was able to rap backwards like that. I say all that to say this gave me that same feeling. Like the first time I listened to it, I wasn't listening to it, so I just heard the beat and I was just bopping to the beat. And then when the song ended, it clicked. I was like, holy shit. He's talking from the perspective of being what the entity of beef is. And it's so detailed that for the way he personifies the entity that we know is beef, saying things like, empires fall over women, I am the reason. US and Al Qaeda, I'm the tension between them. I'm always where the guns blazing, attracting that. The grimiest places is my natural habitat. There's so many bars that's just like, oh my God. It's ridiculously amazing the way he wrote this record. I could quote all of this. Another one. All the internet beat, that shit's a virgin to me. I've been here from the Bible. It's murder I speak. I'm the invasion of your personal space. Fake smiles on your face. It's certain I'm hate. Ridiculous record. Ridiculous, man. Then we go to the record. I call this the last record because there's another record after this, but it's just a bonus that he stuck on. And I feel like this is just a great way to seal the album off. So for me, this is the last record, and the next one is just a dope extra just to have to play. But Don't Shoot Gangsta, I love the first verse, man. And just his cadence on it when he's kind of like, he's not really harmonizing, but he has a little bit of a song rhythm to the flow. And I just really love the message behind that. And he even goes into it, you know, saying things like, think about everything her baby could have grew to be, speaking unity for years, but facing scrutiny. And then it goes into this bar. He weird, one day Esco be rapping about shooting me. Next day he's saying I can. He be confusing me. And he's, again, holding himself accountable for both messages and speaking to the idea like, yeah, I did say that. I was talking about they shooting all made you look. And I also made I know I can. But the reality of it is, that's just the duality of the kid. I just made that rhyme up. I'm like that. Anyway, we're not a one-trick pony. We can have two things that go against each other. We can have two different mind states and different places we can take it. And this song is just him stating that, like, yeah, I said that, but it's a record, you know. It is part of me. It's part of that idea. Like, if you f with me, this is what happens. But I also don't want to see kids die. I'm not promoting that. I'm not saying that, you know, exclusively. But I think the concept of that is dope. And I love how after the confusing me part, he changes the pocket of his flow. Don't wet that. I advise you to mind, don't just rap. Look around every town like a death trap. Like, him kicking that pace up over this piano sample just sounds amazing. Yeah, and then the second verse just expounds more upon the idea of the duality of what being a complete person is. And even in the outro, you know, he's saying, don't shoot the messenger, look in the mirror. You're your own cure for King's disease. And I think that's what this song is about, and the whole album is about, the duality and understanding your own duality, you know, and how to make things work for you. But you have to understand what components work for what situation. It's not just everything. And he's even saying, you know, I don't really know the police commissioner, but I'm down to talk if it's about saving lives. That's the King's position for real. Not thinking it's one or the other, like everything is just black and white. At least that's just how I take it. I think that's a nice cap off to the album. I think it's beautifully wrapped up in this one single track with both verses. And then the bonus record, To My Last Breath, I think this is a summer jam song. It's something that you can just bump at a party. Like, it has the same vibes of that the other record on King's Disease 2 with YG and A Boogie. I forgot the name of it. What's it called? But it just has that New York bop to it. Like, throw your hat in the air like Bobby Shmurda. It's that music. It's not something to really take it too much in depth, even though Nas is always gonna parse it up as usual. It ain't knocking that, but you can just tell it's like it's a tacked on track just to give the fans more. And I appreciate it, and I'm gonna listen to it. So I talked about this album for long enough. My favorite tracks, Legit is the first favorite. Recession Proof is second. I'm on Fire is third. Get Light, fourth favorite record. And Beef. Those are my four favorites of the album. Whole album is fire though. Yeah, I mean, not one skippable track at all. Like, start to finish. So what did you think about King's Disease? Let me know in the comments. What was your favorite record? And as usual, just keep it respectful. And if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. And until next time, peace. RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy.